This is the Dr. Paul Show, a woman's personal guide to understanding men. And now, here is Dr. Paul.
Born for porn. Welcome to the Dr. Paul Show. This is Dr. Paul, and I need to ask you this question. Were you born for porn? What? Of course you are. We all are. A what? Yes, that's right. We are born for porn. And I'm talking about porn of the mind. Not the kind you go buy, but then, of course, we probably buy that porn that we find to be most supportive of our fantasies that we already have. Ever wonder why certain people like certain things? It's because that's how they are, right? And if you look at some of the porn out there, you'll wonder why in the world would somebody ever be interested in that? Who knows? But yes, you are born for porn. We all are. A survey that recently was taken of 3 groups. Are you ready for this? Number 1 was college students. And you're thinking, oh, wow, they're born for porn. Man, they're thinking this all the time, right? Yeah, well, maybe not. Let's kind of look at it, refine it a little bit, analyze it. If that college student and this male or female happens to get together, it's like they're looking for sex, period. Okay? It's like, come on. We're not even talking about romance. Well, maybe a little bit, but we try to get as much booze in us and as outrageous as we can be and have the binges and have sex and don't even know what we're doing. But actually, they are also fantasizing, but within the framework of where they are. Not the kind that you'd think otherwise, but in the framework they are. There's no experience. They have no experience. Really. They may have some, but nothing to the degree that the married couples have. Wow. Married couples, born for porn? Who do you think buys most of the porn out there? The videos. You got it. And who makes their own home videos? The married couples. That's right. Get little Johnny and Susie out of here. Get them to bed. And we'll play. That's how it works. And why do you think people buy all these video cameras, etc., etc.? Because that's what they do. Now, they are a little more sophisticated than the college set because they got a little more experience. They kind of know what each other happens to like, and they really get involved with their personal fantasies. And they become very, as the psychologist that did this study and his team determined, that they become very erotic, very explicit, very detailed, which surprised me. They actually make up scripts. It's almost like, as they explained it, a soap opera, and people had said yes, and these are typically the typical middle class, if there's a middle class left in this country anymore, but the typical middle class person that otherwise wants to maintain that excitement in their marriage, and they make up these various soap opera scenarios that they are very happy with, and they save them, and they look at them, and they have sex and watch these. Their own brand, okay? In fact, there's even there's even a company out there, in fact, there may be several, where if you do your own scenarios, your own videos, and they're good enough, they will buy them from you. Of course, be prepared to know that they will then put them on the DVDs and sell them, or possibly on the internet. But you sign off on them, and they own them. Most people don't get involved with that, but many do. So you have a market there. If things are tough, if you want a bonus, go sell your home videos. This is where they are. And I was surprised and read about the description saying that they have the porn that they make much like soap operas. And the women are actually putting more of this together. In fact, their fantasies are more explicit in large part than the males. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. This was a new view for me. I had no idea. I had some idea, but not to this extent. Now, let's talk about the 50-plus group, that is 50 years old and up. OMG. These are the fantasizers. Look at it this way. They have a very high level of STD in that group. And why? Because, well, we can't get pregnant, so why use condoms? Bad idea. So they are really into fantasies and really into a variety of sexual activities because they have had so many years of these fantasies. Think about it. You're 50, 55, 60 years old, and you have all of these items that you knew from way back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and this is cumulative. You may you may have Alzheimer's, but you're not going to forget that. The odd thing is that these people who have senile dementia, and this was another item that was mentioned in this research, if you have senile dementia and you revert, like the present is non-existent, but you keep going back, at some point in time, you're going to be in your 20s. And guess what goes along with that? That's right, you're just as turned on as you were then. Well, even if somebody doesn't have senile dementia or Alzheimer's, they happen to have this huge accumulation of sexual fantasies, and they involve themselves with them. What have they got to lose, okay? Some of these people don't even buy ripe bananas. They don't buy green bananas because they may not last through them getting ripe. The point is that these are the folks that really have it on. They can tell you more about scenarios and fantasies and videos they've seen than any other group. And now the kicker. This is really amazing. Guys, be careful what you ask for. You may get it. Now, what do I mean by that? It seems that women are involved with romantic touching and all-inclusive sex, and they're into that. But then there's a change. Men, right up front, explicit sex. Looking at it, their men are visual, etc. But once a woman gets turned on, be careful, because they then expect results. I mean, we're not talking amateurs here. We're talking about women who went through the romance, they went through the feeling and the emotion, and now they've hit the real deal. This is where they start becoming sexual prowess. This is where they become the huntress. This is where they really start getting into sex in a big way. All the romance and everything is a lead up to it, but when you get to that culmination for passion, it doesn't quit. And that's something that a lot of men don't understand. Oh yeah, they say they like the flowers. That's right, but that's almost a foreplay. It's a lead up to where they otherwise would be. So, guys, when you think that you've just done everything you can and they're all that's just for openers. And the touching and the kissing, etc., don't rush it, because guess what happens? When they click, I call it a change, then that's where they become very animalistic. Women, that's right, guys, women. They may take a while to get there, but once they're there, you better make certain that you're up to the task, because if you're not, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and that's a scorn factor right there. I'm really thinking about charging for this information, guys, because you really ought to be paying for this stuff. How do you handle this? And women have emailed to me over the course of years, and telephoned and in seminars. When I have a seminar where there are only women, no men, and they're sharing, guys, you would wish you were there, because they'll tell you in no uncertain terms, and they'll remember. Isn't it amazing how women can remember things that you and I kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that, sort of, yeah, maybe. Not the women, in detail. And they remember who they were with and what happened and what the scenario was when they were having sex with this person in no uncertain terms. It is the fantasy of their minds, and it reruns itself. They can tell you when they lost their virginity, or more importantly, gave their virginity. Okay? They can tell you what scenarios they were in high school, perhaps college, in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. They'll remember them all. They'll remember each person if you listen. I listen, but then I'm not in a romantic situation with them, and I'm listening to what they have to say. Oftentimes, when they relate these things, they again become turned on. This becomes it's almost like rerunning your favorite movie over and over and over. And I think guys do that too. When you have this favorite fantasy or experience that you had and you want to relive it, this is something that's in the back of your mind. I love this. I think that this psychology team did a great job. They took the three groups, the college students, the married group, and the seniors. Not really seniors, 50 plus, 55. Anyway, these are the people that they involved themselves with, and their findings were remarkable. Nothing that they really expected. They almost expected the reverse. That's not what happened. They thought, well, married couples, they have so many kids, they have time for it. Yeah, they do. They make time for it. That's what it's all about. And that other group, the 50 plus, wow, don't underestimate them. And the college students, well, wild times at college. What can I say? They are what they are. Hope you have comments on this. If you do, be sure to email Dr. Paul, askdrpaul.com. That's the place, and you will find the place to make an email to Dr. Paul about this subject. I'm sure we'll get a few. So you are born for porn, whether you like it or not. It's hardwired in you and me. And Dr. Paul, is he born for porn? Yep, we all are, whether you like it or not. Don't even think about your folks, because that'll really cause you a problem. It's like the one we had that emailed in and said she and her boyfriend are having sex, lived with her, and her mother, who had Alzheimer's, walked in. You may have remembered that. Fortunately, she didn't recall what happened, but it was a little bit disconcerting, to say the least. I'm sure the guy dove under the bed, but she didn't go into those details. Anyway, yes, we're all born for porn. That's the subject this evening. We're going to the emails right after the upcoming break. And be certain, by all means, to tune in to ironbroadcast.com for copies of this podcast. And, of course, as always, YouTube, WTAN1340.com, and you're there. We'll be right back after the upcoming messages. This is the Dr. Paul Show, and you're tuned in to WTAN1340.com.
And now, back to the Dr. Paul Show.
It's all good. This is Dr. Paul. You're on the Dr. Paul Show, and we have some emails. We're getting to your emails. Thank you for sending them. I'm remiss to some degree in that, but it's always entertaining. Infotainment, right? Okay, here we have one. Dear Dr. Paul, I need your advice. I met this wonderful man in my hometown when he was here doing a job. He had just come out of a divorce 3 weeks prior. Okay. We went out and completely clicked. Good. We dated for 5 months and everything was perfect. He then asked me to move to his hometown with him and marry him. Fantastic. So far, so good. We moved in together, and 2 weeks into the start, he became very distant to me. Oh. I asked him what was wrong, and if he wanted to talk about it. He said, "You are pinning me to the floor." Oops. I don't believe he meant that in a good way. He said he wanted me to move out because it was too soon and the timing was off. Why did he know that before I uprooted my family and quit my job? He said he loves me deeply and cares about me, but doesn't love me forever. Okay. I'm going to comment on this. I'm going to comment on it now. I'm not often without words. So this time I'm somewhat shocked because I don't understand why this person has done this unless he needs some serious counseling, which he probably does. It sounds like he is on a rebound situation. He is not able to keep it together. He's committed to somebody, and now he can't commit. So he's not on a plane that is going to be steady. He is up and down, and he may need some serious counseling. All right. I'm devastated because I don't know if I did something wrong or not. Probably not. I moved back home 6 weeks ago, and we still talk every now and then. We met for lunch last week, and he had great conversation. We never talk about a relationship, just general stuff. He said it is great seeing me and talking to me, and then hugged me and kissed me goodbye and said, "Talk to you soon." How do I approach him about his feelings without being pushy or looking desperate? I love him with all my heart. I don't know how to handle this. How can two people meet and fall in love, then boom, he doesn't want to be with you anymore? Should I just give him time to figure it out, or should I approach him and talk about it? He tells me to not give up hope. What does that mean? What can I do to get him back? Please keep me available on this guy. Give me the insight. Thank you, Valerie. Okay. I beg your pardon. That was not. I would say this. We don't use names on this show. And that was not the name that we had here. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking you've got a problem. Not you. You have a problem with him. And I think what needs to be done is drop him. Like a bad habit. Or tell him you're going to drop him unless he seeks counseling, because he is not on an even plane, as I said earlier. He can't be allowed to do this to you or anyone else. But more importantly, can't be allowed to do it to himself. He's in a quagmire. He has not had sufficient time, and that happens. People are on a rebound. There's not sufficient time between the time they've gotten divorced and the time they commit, or they think they're committing. It works. Sometimes they don't need that. But in this case, this man needs it. He needs help, and you need to tell him that is where it is. Without that help, he is not going to succeed with you or anybody else. As far as you're concerned, I would have to say that you're beating a dead horse here. I don't believe there's a way back. In fact, let him know that after he goes to counseling, and make certain that he does, that you will indeed be happy to have lunch with him, only lunch, and see where he's coming from. Interesting letter. We get things like this, but this one was very different. To ask somebody to uproot themselves, as she said, to leave the town, quit your job, go live with them, and then he turns out this way, is totally uncalled for. Totally uncalled for. So he does need help. Okay, very good. We have a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the line with Dr. Paul.
Hi, Dr. Paul. It's Cece. How are you?
Well, good, Cece. How are you? I understand you're having a meetup tonight. Is that right?
I did. Yes, we had an event. It was a taco night. It was really quite successful in St. Petersburg. But listen, I was listening to your show, and I wanted to make a comment on the email that you had received with regards to the divorce, the gentleman that was divorced. And I think your advice is spot on, because I think that when we go through divorce, there's so many different emotions that we experience. But I think this guy, even though I think he thinks that she's a stand-up gal, probably really does have feelings for her, he's just really not ready yet, and it has nothing to do with her. Maybe at another time, but he's just going through, a gamut of emotions that it just hasn't caught up with him. So I think your advice is right, to step back, let him have the space, and, see what happens.
Well, you, of course, have a membership group that includes people who have recently been divorced, and you have a good handle on that. I would suggest that in this case, which was really, really unusual, that he get help, because he obviously needs it. This man is not on an even keel.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the thing is you're really not when you first go through divorce. And he was seeking, he was lonely. He was seeking something, and he found that in her, which, she might be, just a fantastic woman. And of course, he saw that. But then she needs to question herself, because, she moves so quickly. She needs to step back and evaluate herself and to figure out, why did she move so quickly? Is she that lonely? I mean, she should have really slowed down and took it a little bit slower, because now she's got herself in kind of a tough situation, because she's moved.
She took him at his word, didn't she?
Pardon?
She took him at his word, didn't she?
Well, I mean, she did, but then she also, when you're in a relationship, it's a decision you make, it's a choice that you make. And she made that choice, and it didn't work out. And she can't necessarily blame him, because she didn't make sure that all factors were in place. that the relationship was strong. You don't, immediately go and make those kind of moves that are life-changing without making sure that, you're totally, in that relationship and it's solid. She kind of went on a whim thinking, oh, what the heck, this sounds great. And you can't always do that if you're making life changes.
Well, especially where she has kids, as she said, involved. And the big point on this subject is that it might work at some future date as long as he commits to going through counseling. He needs it. Many people who have gotten divorced fail to get counseling. There's a certain traumatic experience involved with a divorce, even a separation. Let's say that you've been living with somebody for 3 to 5 years, and suddenly this thing falls apart. The next person you meet may just be perfect for you. However, because you haven't given yourself some reflection and perhaps counseling, it's not a good idea to get involved with this person, because if that's the perfect person for you, that person may not want to give you time. And maybe when we hear these things, a lot of times I say there are 3 sides to every story, CC. His, hers, and the truth. And right now what I'm thinking is that there may be something else in there that we're not aware of. There may be something in there that he has said to her, I need a little time, and she didn't hear that. So in that case, sometimes say, maybe you do need a little time. Maybe you want to reflect a little bit on this other situation and start evolving out of that. Sometimes, CC, I get emails from women who say, well, he called me, and not while they're having sex, but just throughout the time frame they're with this person. He called me his ex's name. That's not a bad thing, especially when it comes to men, and I'll tell you why. Because he's starting to transfer, transfer that person and the good things to this new person. It's not
right, his emotions.
Yeah. Exactly. He's transferring the positives over, and he may use that name. That's not all bad. And I've had people talk to me on the air and say, he called me Susie and my name's Mary, and I was very upset. So stop, Mary. He's starting to change. He's starting to transfer. It's called personality transference. I'm transferring from this person to you, and inadvertently I mentioned that person's name, although I know I'm with you. Mm-hmm. And so then I'm saying, you might want to be flattered by this. You might figure, well, hey, look, you know what? I'm the person involved here, and he's bringing the good things. Now, if you get into a fight and he calls you that name, that's a different story. He's bringing the bad things in. Then it goes both ways. If you're in a fight already by that time, maybe you shouldn't even be in the position you're in. I don't shoot on anybody, but that, and by the way, that's SHOULD. We've had some complaints on that. We're not saying a 4-letter word here. We're using the word should, okay, just like on my website. Well, thank you for that. Any other comment on this one?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would suggest is I think, counseling is, like you said, you're spot on. I think counseling is really something that is a very good thing for both parties involved. I mean, I think with him, he jumped the gun going into a relationship too soon, and she jumped the gun with moving and making life choices too early without making sure what's actually taking place. So, and you're right, there is always some underlying things that we don't always see in an email. But you are very correct. I think counseling with both of them is probably a very good thing. Would certainly help them. Certainly wouldn't hurt them. So you're right with that. But listen, I loved your show. I was listening. I was about wowed out with the first part of it. But I'm a bit conservative. So
well, I don't make this stuff up.
I love the show, and I listen often. And you're super. And I highly recommend your show for everyone to listen.
Well, thank you for calling, CC. And a postscript to that, I don't make this stuff up. I'm only the messenger. This study that I called it Born for Porn, is surprising to the team that got the results they got. They had no idea that was happening, but we know now. So even though we oftentimes live in a hypocritical society, and you said you're conservative, and that brought up a point. You hear these people that are, I'll think about the senator that was caught in a restroom in the airport, remember? Conservative senator, anti-gay, lesbian, etc. And then he's obviously overcompensating for his real desires, and he gets nailed. So we live in a society where we have this facade, yet underneath we have that dark side.
I know. Well, I'm not going to talk about that.
No, you don't have any dark side, do you, CC? Of course not. It's everybody but thee and me, and I'm not so sure about thee. Is that it?
Well, anyhow, but it was an interesting topic, and I'm glad that you shared it with everyone.
Oh, so if you want to hear it, just ask Dr. Toughlove.
Made me blush for sure.
All right, thank you. CC, it's my pleasure having you call in.
Great. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to have the call, and I love your show, and I'll just keep on listening. Thank you so much, Dr. Paul.
Thanks again. All right, that was CC. We had her as a guest, and you might want to remember that is at myfriends.com, I believe. No, it's at myfriendsconnect.org, myfriendsconnect.org. We're going to go to the next letter. Okay, about that, Lee. We got some time for the next letter? Okay, he shakes his head. He's got, fine, we're there. Okay. Oh, boy, this is one that I think everybody ought to listen to. Some of these bother me, and I have to say that I'm picking some tonight that are not easy. I went through these tonight, and I selected some, in fact, researching it over last Saturday. Dr. Paul, I'm a 27-year-old man, and my girlfriend is 20 years old. I'm writing to you because I'm already starting to fall in love with this girl, and I fear that she will have a change of heart due to her age. All right, you're setting up a straw man right there. You're setting up a reason. Don't do that. If you're serious, don't start setting up causes that aren't there. Once you let that into the universe, and I happen to believe in that concept, once you let it into the universe, guess what? It's going to be there. It's going to have energy. You energize thoughts, you energize beliefs, and they exist. Nothing happens in this life without some thought. I don't care if it's an invention, a patent, I don't care if it's the internet, I don't care what it is. If you have the thought, you energize it. And what you energize, you will receive back. Now, you're energizing the wrong thing, okay? I don't know if this might mean anything, but she has never had a father in the picture. So, you are really analyzing this way beyond your pay grade. She is somewhat mature for her age, but at times her age shines through. Duh, of course her age is going to shine through. But you said something that's very significant. I'm going back to that. I feel a lot for this girl, and I'm not afraid of her changing as a person, but only in the relationship sense. What do I do? Stop sabotaging yourself. That is what you are doing. You are sabotaging you. Don't do it. There's no advantage to you whatsoever. The plus is that she said she grew up without a father, and she seems mature for her age. Well, of course she would seem mature for her age. She had no father figure in her life. So here you are, 27 years old, she's 20. What do you think she thinks? She likes that maturity that you have. She's never had that before. Let me tell you something. You're lucky. Enjoy it. Appreciate it. What are you, trying to shoot yourself in the foot? Come on. Man, it sounds like you like this person, and it sounds like she's quite a person. And you said she's mature for her age. Well, sometimes her age shows through. Of course it will. So does yours. Okay. All right? It's a two-way street. But, as I said, you are one fortunate person. This woman apparently has a great deal of love for you, and she's indicating it. And what I really believe here is that you are setting up shadow figures. You're kind of getting to a point where you're getting cold feet. Well, what do I do now? I'll write to Dr. Paul. He'll know. Yeah, Dr. Paul does know. Get with the program. Okay, dude? Dr. Toughlove is telling you, commit. If you can't commit, then get out of it. When you commit, that's it. I tell people, don't give me a maybe. I can handle a yes or no. I can't handle a maybe. Why in this society people have become so wishy-washy? They can't seem to stand on their own 2 feet. They have to give reasons, well, yes and no. Not acceptable. Do what you do and do it well. If you want this woman, commit, understand it, and stop trying to rationalize yourself out of it. There you go. Got it? Enough already. All right, we're going to go to the break right now. This is Dr. Paul. You're on the Dr. Paul Show, and we shall return.
back to the Dr. Paul Show.
Hi, you're back with Dr. Paul. I'm Dr. Paul. We have some comment over the break. I think Cece said she was conservative. Dr. Paul is pragmatic, a realist, a very bottom line kind of guy, realist. And I don't like to pigeonhole myself on conservative, liberal, this or that, political parties. I don't do politics or religion ever. That's not my thing. But I will say one thing, and that has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with the treatment of women. And I believe Dr. Drake mentioned on her show, this governor out of Wisconsin who coincidentally happens to be Republican and conservative. And you got that, CC? And again, this is not political. It's a comment. They are passing a bill in Wisconsin which allows men to earn more money than women for the same job. That is totally un-American. Totally un-American. I said it. And I'm a veteran, so I have a right to say it. Okay, from a family of veterans. You don't cheat people by saying, well, you earn more money because you need it as opposed to a woman. That's antiquated, obsolete, back to the 1930s thinking. Women's suffrage allowed women to vote, and guess what, Jack? You probably won't get reelected. Moving right along, I'm all in favor of women. 80% of my listeners and viewers are women. We had this letter from a man earlier. It's fine. We address men's issues, no question about it. It just so happens that's the way it is. The book I have, Boomer Girls, now available on Kindle, $2.99. Great buy. If you want to find out about a man, why ask a woman? Ask a man. Ask Dr. Paul. Okay. Here's one I like as well. I'm 21 years old, currently in a university. I've had my fair share with the ladies, but there is this one girl I met about a month ago that really has me flustered. Uh-oh, the love bug bites. Aha! When I see her or talk to her, I love this, my A game crumbles. His A game. Uh-huh. Sounds like he's been to some of these pickup artist seminars, but maybe not. So anyway, I initially met this girl through her roommates, but we didn't really talk too much. Then 2 weeks later, I saw her on a campus bar, so I talked to her. So when I was talking to this girl, again, my A game crumbled. Well, dude, you can't have that happen, can you? It looks like you got somebody you're interested in. Remember what Dr. Paul says? Let the games begin to end. All right, this girl seemed very different, and I sensed that from her when I first met her. She is gorgeous and very smart, shy, and quiet. Wow. She's gorgeous and very smart, shy, and quiet. I got to make note of that one. Good for you. Okay. Blows your mind, doesn't it, huh? Hi. Are you listening? I guess you must. So the night at the bar, I couldn't read her, but I realized that she was an amazing girl and that we have a lot in common. Wow, a lot in common? Off the A game? I bet she's not. She doesn't need an A game, does she? I love it. I hope you're as entertained by this as I am. And I'm really trying to help you, dude. Okay, I really am trying to help you. Favorite music, TV shows, sports, movies. So at the end of the night, I asked her for a number, and she told me she doesn't give her number out like that, and that I should Facebook her. I like her. She's got your number, hasn't she? I mean, not your telephone number. She has your number. You said it. She's smart. Okay. After that night, I felt like I was in damage control since I didn't make much of a first impression. No, you didn't, because you communicated to her that you're a player. You have that A-game personality, and that's what happened. And we communicate things to people. We probably communicate more visually and by body language, perhaps to the point of 90th percentile, than anything else. So she understood you well. She said she hasn't seen the season finale of what is my and her favorite show, so I sent her the link to it. She said that was sweet and all, but mostly small talk, and she said she had to go back to setting since it was midterm season. And she studies, too. You're in trouble. I'm taking it as a hint that she is not really interested. Now, why would you do that? Faint heart never won fair lady. You really want her? Listen to Dr. Paul. Grasshopper, I will take care of you. But one of my girlfriends said otherwise. Aha! So I have no clue what to do. I have never worked this hard at a girl before, and to be honest, I really like her. She's going to make you work for it, too. I'm seeing her this weekend at a party for Halloween at a friend's house. What do you think I should do? I have no clue. Thank you, sir. Don't dress in a dumb costume. That's number one. Number two, look at rule number one. All right. I haven't been called sir since I've been in the Navy, but that's cool. I like this. You're okay. You're all right. I'm glad you wrote this to me, and I hope this helps you, and I hope it helps you other guys out there, too, to listen to this. It's going to happen to you. It's happened to me. It happened to me. So you got me at one point where you said she was gorgeous and very smart, shy and quiet. So that's a lethal combination. Femme fatale, huh? Oh, you're in college. You know what that means. So you have no clue. Yeah, you do. That's why you wrote this to me. All right, I'm going to help you out here. You have taken a brave stand, but she doesn't know that. You ask Dr. Paul. Well, and this works. I kid you not, it works. I have had more people tell me that they have taken the letter they have written to Dr. Paul at my suggestion, sitting down with coffee with the person, and then talking about what happened. And I think this is going to work for you as well. We're going to do a breakup coming here, but I'm going to continue this after this break. But in the meantime, I want you to know, when you go to the Halloween party, don't make a fool of yourself. Okay, don't drink. She'll be watching you. I seriously mean that. If she's gone this far and this other girl has told you that she has interest in you, don't do something foolish. Don't get swacked and go in and be an ass, because if you do that, you will never see that girl again. And too often guys will do that. Your buddies are there, I have a drink, blah, 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 and, it's over. So just be cool, okay? Be your own man. Stay away from your buddies. Just kind of be by yourself. If you can do that, that makes you more interesting. You're more mysterious. I ought to charge you guys a lot of money for this advice, right? You guys really ought to pay big time. What do you think? Lee, you think they should pay for this advice?
Definitely.
Absolutely. Big time, right?
Yeah, just, I don't know. We could set it up on the web, I guess.
I guess we could do that. Make it, a couple $1,000 just for this. I mean, this woman's important to him, right? That'll work. Okay. Are we going to break right now?
Anytime.
All right, that's good. We'll go to a break right now. We're going to get back with you after this break. This is Dr. Paul. This is Dr. Paul Show. We'll be right back.
And now, back to the Dr. Paul Show.
Welcome back to the Dr. Paul Show. We were talking about this fellow who found this amazing girl, he said, and he's right. She's amazing because you are amazed. She's not the run-of-the-mill, and you got caught. Your A game has crumbled, as you said, and you're not the only one. I have many, many, many guys email this to me, type of thing, and a lot of guys say, hey, listen, you're telling women about men. Well, what about these women? Well, you met somebody. You're going to find this more and more. 60% of college students are female now. This is changing. That glass ceiling is breaking. The CEO of IBM now is female. So these things are changing rapidly. In fact, my aunt was the first executive vice president of Squibb Pharmaceutical in New York City, and that was a long time ago, and she was one of the first ones. So you need to understand that you're going to be frustrated. The A game, that game playing, that's back in the 90s. Those days are done, okay? And all this business about pickup artists, do you think they're stupid? They're not at a university because they're dumb. They're smart. They can read people. They know they know a partier, they know a player, and that's where you've been. And this woman has really caught you by surprise. Take this letter to her. Sit down and read it to her and let her know what Dr. Paul said. And get your act together. Don't play games. And again, when you go to that Halloween party, I want you, I know this is somewhat dated from Halloween, but I want you to be mysterious. Don't wear some ridiculous costume like a pumpkin or something. Please, don't embarrass yourself. Don't do that. Look cool, all right? And kind of stay by yourself and kind of catch her eye and talk to her a little bit. And if somebody else moves on her, you move first. And when somebody moves on her, you make sure you protect your territory. Remember what I said. And she'll get the idea. She'll know you're interested. You got that? Don't be too cool, okay, because you'll lose. Just be cool, but make sure that you keep her territory within your range, not somebody else's. That's a game. But we know how to play that one, don't we? Because we're men, but not with her. The game of keeping other men away from her, we can do. But don't play games with her because she'll see right through you. Okay, we'll go to the next letter. I like this one. This has been very entertaining. I like this one. I'm making note of this. Put this in the file. Did a good job on this one. Thank you again for sending it in. Okay. New one. Where do we go for a date? During the time of economic problems, we still want a date. Okay, so let's go to the movies. Not too bad as far as price is concerned either. Stay away from the refreshments, however. I've been evaluating some films. People have been asking, what do I do on a date? I'm talking about going to a park, taking a picnic, picking up some subs from the grocery store, some sub shop, whatever, and go to the park, enjoy the day, go for breakfast at the park. This is good, and you can go to any type of location you want. There are a lot of things to do that are not going to be expensive that are still doable. And a movie is not all bad. Problem with the movie is when you sit in a movie, you don't talk, you don't communicate. And if there's somebody you have a date with you don't particularly want to be with, go to a movie, nobody can see you, you can't talk, take her home, or him home, as the case may be, and the party's over, date is over too. I would say that I haven't seen some of the movies out recently. The Hunting Game, is that the name of it? The Hunting Game, Lee? It's a new film out.
I can find out who.
Yeah. Anyway, I haven't seen that. I've seen some reviews on it. It seems pretty good. There's a new James Bond movie coming out, which I'm sure is always good. So we'll evaluate these movies as they come along. Some of them, if you happen to have, sometimes you have Netflix, you're at home, you have it on your computer. The two of you can watch the show at home. Make some pizza together. Just buy one. Make one. Pick up the bottom and make it. Because why? You can always buy a pizza and have it delivered. Big deal. But do something together. Make the pizza. You can buy the base and put some tomato paste on it. And sounds like I've done it, doesn't it? Yes, I have. Because guess what? It's a thing to do together. Okay? Anybody can buy a pizza. But I'm saying do it together. Make it. Put it in the oven. Laugh about it. Have some adult beverages, whatever they may be, and you've got a nice evening watching the Netflix and you're cool. It's nice. You're together. And you don't have somebody to bother with answering the doorbell and bring a hot pizza. You've got a hot pizza right there, whatever you want. So it goes. I've enjoyed the night.
Speaking of pizza, it was Hunger Games.
The Hunger Game. That's it, the Hunger Game. Sounds good. I want to know what that's all about when I say it. This is Dr. Paul, as always. May your fantasies of today be your realities of tomorrow.